We had 2 people cancel tonight, so I wasn't planning on telling a story, but I'm going to tell a story. So let's actually, one of them was the little girl that we love, Louise, who is on the wrestling team. So if you came for her, she's wrestling. And I'm like, you're the coolest 16-year-old I know. And then Joy Wright, if you came to see her, her mom passed away. So we'll just hold a little prayer and thought for her. So you got me. And I'm going to be telling, I was trying to think of a story that I had about, you're not going to stop us now. And I told a story down in Chicago about a month ago, and it's from my one-person show, but it's a bit of a condensed version of it, and there's a few little new bits in it if you came to see the show. So it's not the same show. So anyhow, it's called Transparent Love. My 13-year-old daughter posted a sign on her bedroom door that said, "A pansexual transgender lives here." And I think, a pansexual transgender lives here? I gotta Google that shit. And so I do. And it turns out that a pansexual means those who feel comfortable spiritually, mentally, and sexually loving all genders. And I'm like, fuck, that's a lot. That's a lot of love. I don't Google transgender because I know that one. Plus, it's one of the 7 words that our president has banned the CDC from using. So, and I think, if he's going to ban that word, what will he do to the actual child? And then I remember what he's capable of doing, because it was the kids with the cages and the borders, and suddenly my mind is filled with borderline bullies and locker room bullies, and I'm shaking my head like an Etch-a-Sketch, and I'm thinking, hold up, maybe it's just a phase, right? I know, I shouldn't think that maybe it's just a phase, because I think, why do I want this to be a phase? Do I not want to have a transgender child? Am I just like our president, just trying to ban what I don't understand? Yes, I was. And then I think, maybe she's just a lesbian. And again, I know I shouldn't say just a lesbian. I know that's on me. I shouldn't have a hierarchy of lifestyles, but come on, lesbians, right? They're great, and they're so funny, right? Lesbians are some of the funniest people in the world. I mean, you've got Kathy Richardson, you've got Ellen, you've got Lily Tomlin, you've got Jane Lynch, there's Wanda Sykes, and I start to list all these funny lesbians, and I start to think, are all lesbians 50-year-old comedian type people? And I'm like, no, that can't be true, because I have met 1 or 2 lesbians who are not funny. They're rare, but I've met them. I was a lesbian once, which I was terrible at it. I failed lesbianism. I kissed a girl, and I liked it, but after that I was like, I'm good. It wasn't when it came to going to that, I was like a picky kid trying to feed him spinach. I was like, oh, I'm full, I'm good, I know, that's bad. I'm not a vegetarian, as it turns out. I just didn't want to eat the pussy. So, and I think I'm pretty sure that that's a requirement. Lesbians, that's important, right? Yeah. Trying to fake being a lesbian never works out because you're not actually a lesbian. So it's going to be a problem eventually. And it's not that I have anything against vaginas, because I love vaginas. I mean, I love my vagina. When I first discovered my vagina, it was like the holy grail. I was like, ah! I was 7, and it was like the original fidget spinner. Playing with it helped me with my anxiety, So I just spend my days just humping our living room furniture. And my sisters would come in and say, Maureen, stop! And I'd be like, you stop. This train is getting to the station, if you know what I mean. No stopping this, buddy. No, that's not going to happen. And then they would call to my mom and say, Maureen's laying on her hands again. And I thought, well, I am. But I had no shame because laying on of hands sounded like something Jesus would do, so... And it wasn't just that my vagina gave me so much pleasure, but that my vagina has birthed forth 4 children. Yes, thank you. Came out of this vortex of awesomeness. 4 aliens have crossed this border, and they do look like aliens when they're born, okay? Newborn babies are creepy looking. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They get cuter, but they're like really creepy. And I'm sitting in my living room thinking about funny lesbians and creepy looking babies, and I'm thinking I should be in the room opening the door to my daughter to have this conversation. But I'm uncomfortable, because once I go into the room, everything changes. So naturally, when I'm uncomfortable, I start thinking about my vagina, which has always brought me comfort in times of anxiety. And I contemplate humping the couch for old time's sakes, but decide to pass on that, and I open the door. And she's 14, she's teeny for her age, and she's in her bed, and she's surrounded by her rocks and her crystals and her ukulele, and she smiles at me, and I ask her, "What does pansexual mean?" Even though I've already Googled it, and she says, "Oh, Mom, it just means that I love everyone. And Mom, it means that everyone loves me. I'm like pizza, Mom." And I'm like thinking, no, you're not, you're nothing like pizza, okay? This is not a pizza situation, and besides, everyone doesn't love pizza because there are people who are lactose intolerant who can't eat the cheese. Did you ever think about that? And then there's people who are gluten intolerant and they can't eat the bread, and then there's fucking people who are just goddamn intolerant, my friend, and I can't explain that to her, so I don't say anything. Right, thank God, I didn't fuck that up. Because at this moment, she actually seems happier than a kid at Christmas Eve. Like, she seems so happy. And I don't want to shit on her parade because that's bad parenting and I already have enough strikes against me. So I sit in her room and I listen to her tell me all of these new discoveries, these new words of pansexual and the pronouns and the binders and the boy genes and the testosterone. And she's leaping into her next chapter, and I'm looking for the pause button. And it's not that I want to stop, but I just got to slow it down a little bit, which is ridiculous because you can't stop a sun from rising. Everyone knows that. So we sit in the glow of my child's discovery, and although I know it was really hard to walk into this room, I know it's going to be 100 times harder to step out with my son. Because there's going to be legal documents that I don't even know about, changings of names and conversations with the school, and the school's going to call me, and I'm going to have these conversations about navigating bathrooms, and there's going to be, why do you still split the gym classes up between boys and girls, and do you know how uncomfortable that is? And there's going to be conversations with relatives who send me every book that was ever written on transgender, and then there's going to be other relatives who let me know that supporting my child is basically co-signing a suicide note. Thanks for that. Thanks for straightening me out there. And then there'll be the family vacations where I hold my breath when I watch my kid walk into the men's room of a truck stop. And seconds feel like hours. And there'll be tearful moments at the DMV when, after being shuttled around from counter to conversation to counter to conversation, we're told that he needs to have the name Rosemary on his permit. And the guy behind the counter seems really nice, but he's just doing his job and he's not budging. It's his legal name, it's on his document. And I look at my son out of the corner of his eyes and he's frozen and he's just stuck still. And I'm thinking, can we just have the name Rosemary? Can we just leave here with that on it? And I see the guy behind the counter, and he's honestly doing his best and he doesn't really get it, and I honestly don't always get it. But when I look again at my kid, I know with every cell in my body that we cannot leave the DMV with the name Rosemary on his permit. Like, we just can't. Because he just can't. In the same way that I just can't eat the pussy. And he's tried. And I tried. And it's just not going to work out. So we leave the DMV with no permit. And 2 years later, he still doesn't have one. Even though the laws have changed, thank God. But he tells me he's afraid of driving, and I have this feeling that it's not about driving, that he's just a little nervous about navigating a sometimes rough and twisted world. And I watch him grow older, and I watch all of these childish ways start to melt. All of these beliefs that a person holds about the world, all of the illusions of Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and a world where everyone loves pizza, Mom. And I really wish everyone did love pizza. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. Because I love pizza. I have always loved pizza. And you know what? I will always fucking love pizza. Thank you.